So, how did you cope with watching this? I mean, it's been like 5 million years since Australia have played without you and without Megan Shute. Are you okay?
5 million years. Geez, Mel, I'm not that old, but no. Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty tough. But look, the girls were so good today. So, I mean, it made it really hard not to watch. So, yeah, I mean, I had it on live stream. I was doing my rehab and had it on my phone. I had it in the car. As soon as I got home, I don't think I showered for about 3 hours because I just sat down and started watching the game. So, I mean, a
Oh,
bit of a
great.
cricket snuff. Yeah.
That's
I've
the
had a
that's
shower
the
now, though,
deal.
thankfully.
Thank goodness at least you made some effort, but I appreciate the dedication. That's what we're looking for. Right, okay, let's get on with the show. I've got to say, I like our producer Muku's choice of music because every time he picks a theme song, I end up kind of jiving to it for ages. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our post-match review show. I'm joined by Australian international Jess Jonathan, who normally would be playing in this game, of course, but recovering from a stress injury in her foot. Thanks for joining us, Jess. Yeah, it was a totally dominant performance by Australia. It has to be said. Were you expecting them to win this first game quite easily because they really did cruise to victory in the end?
Yeah, look, it was an absolutely clinical performance from the girls. I think I tweeted out earlier that it was milestones galore today. We had people hitting milestones like left, right, and center. So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting that sort of one-sided contest today. I thought that it would be much closer, particularly with obviously a new look bowling lineup for the Aussies. But yeah, look, the big guns really fired for the Aussie team when they needed to, and yeah, the fresh faces really stood up to the challenge today.
They certainly did, and we'll talk some more about the points that you bring up. Just a hello to anyone who is joining us live, by the way. If you have any questions for Jess, please do just drop them into the live chat and we'll pop them in if we can. I can see that Rahul has been in there early to say hi, Mel and JJ. I know you've got a question about Mithali Raj. We will get to that in a minute. And a big hello to Pooja Gosika, I hope I said that right, to say please congratulate Elisa Healy, aka GOAT, on her fastest 2,000 ODI runs ever by any cricketer from her biggest fan. Well, yeah, it was pretty good. She and Rachel Haynes both reaching 2,000 ODI runs today, which is pretty amazing. But let's start with Australia's bowlers, because without you and without Megan in there, it was a bit of a new look bowling lineup, and it was led magnificently by the bowling of Darcie Brown in particular. 4 wickets, youngest Australian to take 4 wickets in an ODI. That's not bad going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's not often you can say that the youngest bowler in the side is the one that's leading from the front. We probably saw Elise Perry was a little bit rusty in today's game, that she sort of strayed a fair bit with her line. But the pleasing thing to see from Pez was she got her swing back. So I'm confident next game that she'll be the one leading from the front. But I mean, Darcie Brown, myself and Shooter and yourself said some really high class things about her in our preview, and yeah, she's an absolute jet. She's an elite human, and it's really nice to see that the hard work she put in through the off season, that she was rewarded today. And I know she did an interview during the game and said that she was a bit lucky with some of them, but that's just Darcie. She's downplaying exactly how good she is. She bowled really well, sort of, I think, got a few short ball wickets, which is what she's known for, and really sort of hurried the Indian top order. And I mean, when you take the top 4 wickets of that Indian side, then yeah, you're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, you mentioned the short ball. I mean, One of the Indian players that we talked about was Shafali Verma, and we did sort of touch on the fact that there might be a few short balls sort of bowled to her, and Darcie Brown did that really well. Can you see that as being perhaps a new version of what we saw as a Catherine Brunt, Shafali Verma battle over in England?
It definitely wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you have somebody with Darcie's pace coming in, and we saw how Shafali wasn't quite comfortable with the short ball. It probably wasn't Darcie's best bouncer or best short ball, but it still achieved the result, and Shafali was able to glove it through to Healy. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really fierce contest between those two, because Verma likes the ball coming on, but equally not very comfortable against the short ball.
Yeah, and look, another young Australian bowler, Hannah Darlington, making her debut today, only the third Indigenous woman to play for Australia. So a wonderful moment. She got her cap from Ashley Gardner, which was just a lovely way to start the day. She looked so at home, walking in there, putting the cap on, and she was just so matter of fact, I thought, in the way she bowled, and just seemed to keep things very, very simple and calm.
Yeah, it would have been a huge moment for her receiving her cap from Ash, and equally it would have been a massive privilege for Ash to be given that honour to hand a cap to Hannah. And I mean, Hannah's probably one of the calmest characters that you'll ever meet. She just doesn't seem to let anything phase her, and we sort of showed, well, we were witness to that today. And I think that sort of temperament from somebody so young is so rare. And yeah, for her to be able to seem that at ease in her debut game, and to take two pretty key wickets at the time as well, was yeah, a really good way for her to cap off a special day.
Yeah, all around we saw some terrific bowling by the Australians all the way through. Just a comment from Rahul saying, "How good is Hannah Darlington?" Yes, Darcie is fast too, but Hannah is a canny operator. I think that's a really good word for her. She's pretty smart. And a comment there from Avon Roberts, who says, "Enjoyed watching the game today. Fabulous result. Go you, good things for next two games in Mackay and beyond." Roz and Avon Roberts. Well, hello to Roz and Avon. That's great that you enjoyed the game today. Now, let's move on and talk a little bit about India, and probably the most contentious issue, I reckon, in women's cricket, not just in Indian cricket. It's to do with the captain, Mithali Raj. Now, she scored a half century today. It's her fifth consecutive half century in ODIs. Strike rate of just under 60. And it has happened, we've seen this a few times, that she makes the highest score or close to the highest score, but that strike rate of around about 60, is that a problem? Is it one of those things where you've got the player who's scoring the most runs is scoring them too slowly, and the other players around her aren't scoring enough runs?
Yeah, look, it's a challenging one, because you sort of look at it from both sides. You've got somebody who is a consistent performer and is scoring your team, the majority of your team's runs, but it's sort of at what cost? So is the fact that she's scoring at 60, is that putting the extra pressure on the other players to score? And as such, they're not necessarily scoring the runs that's required from them. But at the same time, it's like, you can't necessarily rely on the attackers of the squad in Shafali and Smriti to always get you off to a flyer. And that also brings me to another point, that I know debutant Bhatia came in and batted at 3 today, which is probably looking to the future. However, I think Mithali is batting one position too low, particularly when the likes of Harmanpreet Kaur isn't in the team. When she's still injured, I think you need your best batter to be facing the most amount of deliveries. And generally, your best batter goes at number 3. You see, Australia has Meg Lanning at number 3 because she is our best batter. And I think it's the same with Mithali Raj, that I think she needs to bat at 3, because then if she needs to be in the second over, that's okay, because she then is able to use that extra time and she'll catch up later. And I mean, we can't forget too the amount of years that she's had in the game, that it's sort of the way that the game's adapted from when she first came in to how it's played now, that yeah, I think she needs to try and find those attacking options a bit more regularly, and if not, actually trying to work harder at those singles so that that extra pressure is not on the other batters. But yeah, it's sort of a bit of a double-edged sword. You don't want her then to overlook and then your best batter's out as well when your other players aren't scoring the runs that you need from them either.
I mean, there was a lot of talk today, certainly online and social media, about Jemima Rodrigues not being in the side for Bhatia, as you say, coming in there. Do you think that that's possibly a selection mistake from India, although, you know, her form has been patchy at times?
I think it depends on what their selection criteria is. I mean, you've seen that she scored a lot of runs in the 100. However, she didn't score the runs that they needed from her in the England series. So if you're going off recent international performances, she probably didn't deserve to make that final 11. And I think the hardest part for Jemima is that she wasn't necessarily given the opportunity in a warm-up game either to prove where she was at. So it wouldn't surprise me if over these next 2 ODIs she gets an opportunity somewhere. However, I think it would be a really tough message and a tough selection if you dropped the debutant from today, because she looked really classy at number 3.
Yeah, she absolutely did. There was some really smart shots. She looked like she was a very, very canny, bit like Hannah Darlington with the ball. She looked pretty canny with the bat. Hopefully that answers Abhishek's question, because he asked, how can Jemima not find a place in such a dull batting lineup? I don't know that dull, it's a bit harsh. I don't know if any lineup that's got Shafali Verma and Smriti Mandana can be called dull. Sometimes they're just going to get out, I guess. So it was difficult for India. You know, they did have a good partnership there toward the end, which was really good to watch between Ghosh and Goswami. They put on the runs, but then Australia coming in, I mean, that top order, our third topic of the day, really, when you're opening with Elisa Healy and Rachel Haynes in that kind of form. I mean, it was amazing to me when Elisa Healy actually got out, because they didn't look like they were going to lose any wickets. I think Australia, both of them reaching 2,000 ODI runs, one after the other. And I sometimes feel that Elisa Healy gets more of the headlines than Rachel Haynes does, because she's so unassuming. But the two of them together, that is a formidable opening pair.
Yeah, it's probably the perfect partnership. You've got Healy, who is sort of, I guess, known to be an aggressive sort of batter, and then you've got Rach, who is sort of has that that rock or that anchor mentality, but both of them at different times can assume the other's role. And I think you saw today that they got off to a slow-ish start in comparison to the Indian openers. However, they were just able to grind through and absorb the pressure. Goswami bowled well early, but as soon as Healy got a few pull shots away, that was it. It's almost like I was watching the game, and she seemed so serious and so tense very early on. But then as soon as she got a few boundaries away, the smile just came back, and then she was able to then bat more freely. And I think that's a key for Elisa, that the more relaxed she is and actually out there having fun, and the better she actually plays. So I think she would have wanted to go out there and set a marker today, and she really did that. I know she would have been disappointed getting out the way that she did. However, that's the way that she plays. She takes the game on, and even though she got out the ball after she brought up her 2,000 runs and hit Poonam Yadav for 6, the way that she got out is exactly the way that she plays. And I mean, for Rach to be not out at the end there, I know there was a lot of talk about her trying to get her century, but I know full well that wouldn't have even been a thought in her mind. She's all about the team, all about everybody else, and she would have just wanted the victory at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what we had a bit of a discussion about that. And, you know, we did speak before the series yesterday about a possible weakness being Australia playing spin but they did play them really well. And there's a question there from Ananya Pendran. Hello, Ananya. What do you think the biggest difference between Australia's spinners and India's spinners is? What makes Australia's spin group so successful? We saw today, didn't we, Sophie Molyneux in particular being very economical, and some of the balls she bowled, the one that got Mithali Raj out, she's not often beaten by flight, is she? But Australia did manage to nullify the spinners, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I think probably to answer that question in what's the difference, it's probably the speed that the Australian spinners bowl at, that it's known to be a little bit faster across the board. I think most of our spinners are sort of mid 70 kilometres an hour, where you've got somebody like Poonam Yadav who has bowled as slow as 53 kilometres today. So normally the Australian batters would have charged down the wicket. You see it tossed up really high, see it slower, come down the wicket. However, she's so good at landing the ball on a length. So I think the thing that both Healy and Haynes did well today to actually nullify that Indian spin group was they played deep in their crease. So the fact that the ball was coming slower, it gave them a lot more time to be able to play off the back foot. And with the field spread and the fielders out both sides of the wicket, it allowed them to tick over the run rate. And then having a left and right hand combination, it's hard for any bowler, regardless of how good you are, to have to change every single ball your line slightly, or even to the batters, slightly different lengths. Some would like it more coming out, others play a full delivery off the back foot. And then you have Rach Haynes as well, who's so good at lapping or ramping and sweeping. So I just think the Australian batters had a really clear and really successful game plan against the Indian spinners today, and they just had no answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Bang on. That's summed up so well. And just a quick word on Meghna Singh, because Cricket with AV has brought up Meghna, and we've talked about her a bit during the day. Meghna Singh is a good prospect for India if she gets this much shape in Australia. Imagine her in New Zealand swinging it. Her developing an in-dipper would make it lethal. Your views? I tell you what, Cricket with AV, were you eavesdropping? Because I can tell you that Jess Jonathan said exactly that before we went on air with this show.
I have to check. My house might be bugged.
But first ball from her was like, whoa, that's a great first ball for your first one in international cricket. What do you make of her on first viewing?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, I thought that the fact that Shikhar Pandey was left out of the side, I was thinking, oh no, who's going to be the opening bowler at the other end? And Meghna Singh was phenomenal. I mean, I would have liked to see her come back a little bit earlier for a second spell as well. But the shape that she got on the ball was incredible. We saw Goswami down the other end wasn't necessarily shaping it too well. So I thought, oh no, maybe the swing is no longer there for them, and that might make it even tougher for the Indian bowling lineup. However, she came in and bowled some incredible outswinging deliveries and squared Healy up a few times. And I just think that she may not have had a game plan to when Healy started walking across her stumps and exposing the leg stump, that she almost, like, she tried to go a little bit straighter, but I think, yeah, sort of developing maybe a full Yorker at that point, or just changing a few, maybe rolling her fingers over the side of the ball just to try and get when the batter's walking across, and they might, I guess, fall over the ball a little bit and might bring in some bowls or LBWs. But I think she is a very good prospect, like you said. And yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if she has a big part to play, not only over these next two ODIs, but further on into the series and beyond as well.
Yeah, she was certainly fun to watch in those first couple of overs in particular.
I think the thing too is, like, she's 27 or something, I think. So she's had to work so hard for an opportunity. So I think that in itself just goes to show the type of person and the type of character that she is. And I think with a few players out of the Indian side, I think somebody, even though that she is a debutant, she's got that sort of internal drive and desire that might rub off on all the others to continue to expect even better performances from themselves and from each other moving forward, because ultimately it's a fairly quick turnaround between the next game on Friday, and it's a day-night game as well. So the ball might swing even more. So she might even come into play even further.
Oh yeah, that's a heck of a prospect if she was swinging it that much earlier. Now, it just obviously big win for Australia. Just sort of in summing up, how do you see a way for India to bounce back from this? Do you think we might see some changes? Obviously, they'll be hoping that Harmanpreet Kaur is fit in particular. Do you think that India need to sort of shake things up and make a few more changes though?
Yeah, it's sort of hard because you don't want to. I mean, I think India underperformed in a few areas today. I think, but there is also no cause for panic. I think if you look at it, it could be completely different if Shefali didn't glove that ball off Darcie Brown. There could have been a few other things that went their way, but I think, yeah, if Harmanpreet Kaur is fit for the next game, I think it might come at the cost of Pooja Vastraka, because I don't think she had the greatest game today. Unfortunately for her, who's been trying to find her way back in the side after sort of being in and out over the last few games. But I think if anything, yeah, it'll probably come at a cost for her, unfortunately. And then that way it lengthens their batting lineup again too, and gives them another slow bowling option if the spinners sort of get nullified again.
Yeah, there you go, Pooja, who's saying give some tips to India to get a win against Australia. You've just heard one little tip from Jess Jonathan, doing a fine job of being impartial on this review show. Hey, that's brilliant stuff from you, Jess. I really, really love the insight you're able to bring us. And we're going to see Megan back for a preview for the next game. And then we're going to see you back to roll your eye over the performances in the second ODI. So hopefully you're having fun, and it gives us a chance to watch cricket and talk about it.
I was going to say, any opportunity and any excuse I get to watch cricket, I'm all for it. I'm an avid watcher and I'm a massive cricket snuff. So Australia doesn't even have to be playing and I'll be watching. So, I mean, that's just what it's like in my house. I think my partner has got the headphones in and watching Netflix sometimes.
Oh, that's okay. You can just keep sending me WhatsApp messages as you're watching, and I do the same for you as well. I kick my mum out into the other room, so hey, I know what it's like. But thanks so much to you. So everyone, make sure that you give us a like, do subscribe, set your notifications so that you can come back and join us throughout this series. Often you get the chance to pick the brains of someone like Jess Jonathan, and I'll be back with Megan to preview the second game of the series. So until then, enjoy the series. Enjoy your cricket. We'll see you soon.